Do you think that just having a US visa in hand means everything is done? Big mistake. In 2025, the United States tightened its borders more than ever before. A passport that's a few days from expiring, a hesitant answer at the border, or even a package of food in your suitcase can lead to you being denied entry and forced to fly back. Imagine this. After months of preparation and significant expense, you're standing right at the door of the United States, only to be turned away simply because you don't know the latest rules. Does it hurt? But don't worry. In this video, I'll reveal 11 must-know rules before you set foot in the US in 2025. These are the things that will help you avoid trouble, save tens of thousands of dollars, and most importantly, make the American dream a reality. Sit down, focus, because every second that passes could save your entire trip. Let's get started. It sounds funny, but it's true that someone was stopped right at the airport just because their passport was valid for exactly 5 months and 29 days. Yes, just 1 day short, and the whole trip to America went up in smoke. When it comes to entering the US, one of the seemingly small but extremely important things is the expiration date of your passport. Typically, the US and most airlines require your passport to be valid for at least 6 months after your expected departure date from the US. For example, if you fly to the US in July and plan to return to Vietnam in September, your passport must be valid until March of the following year. It sounds a bit ridiculous, but in reality, this is an international regulation aimed at ensuring you don't get stuck in the US if something happens during your trip. Imagine this scene. You've prepared everything, from having your visa in hand and round-trip plane tickets to a neatly packed suitcase, and you've even made plans with friends in New York. But at the check-in counter, the airline staff looked at the passport coldly and shook their heads. "I'm sorry, your passport is not valid." Does it hurt? Not only do you lose your plane ticket and your carefully prepared plans, but sometimes you also have to pay extra to change your ticket and reschedule your itinerary. And if they accidentally get past the airline but are discovered by CBP upon arrival in the US, CBP has the right to deny entry. So, after all that preparation and the American dream, it all vanished just because I forgot to check my passport's expiration date. So, before you think about visas, ESTA, or any other complex documents, get your passport out and check its remaining validity right away. If it's less than a year old, my sincere advice is to renew it right away. The renewal procedure in Vietnam is not complicated at all, and you will have absolute peace of mind throughout your trip. It's that simple. But this is the #1 fundamental rule that anyone wanting to come to the US in 2025 must remember. Without a passport valid for at least 6 months, the American dream is just a dream. A valid visa is the most important condition. But don't forget that the visa also needs to be for the right purpose. Going to school with a tourist visa? Sorry, America won't hesitate to give you a free round-trip ticket back home. It sounds like a joke, but there have actually been quite a few such hilarious cases. There are many types of US visas, and each type can only be used for the purpose it specifies. Example: B1, B2, business trip, tourism, visiting relatives. F1, for international students. J1, for exchange and research programs. H1B, for highly skilled workers. You might think, as long as I get into the US, that's all that matters, right? You're completely wrong. Americans are very particular about this. If you have a tourist visa but declare that you are going to study, it is considered self-misrepresentation. This isn't just about being denied entry, you know. In a worst-case scenario, your visa could be cancelled on the spot, and you could be banned from entering the US for years due to violating visa conditions. Some people even have notes in their immigration records, making future visa applications as difficult as winning the lottery. Imagine, you spend months preparing your study abroad application, paying tuition fees, booking flights, only to be sent back because you don't have the correct visa. That's a plot twist no one wants to experience. So remember, the right visa for the right purpose is the second key to entering the United States. Before flying, remember to check the type of visa you have. Prepare all relevant supporting documents. For studying abroad, bring your I-20 and acceptance letter. For work, bring an invitation letter from the American company. For conferences, bring proof of attendance. When answering CBP, be consistent with the type of visa you hold. Avoid hesitation and do not misrepresent your purpose. To put it lightly, a visa is like a movie ticket. If you buy a ticket to an action movie, you can't get into an animated movie theater. And that is the second extremely important rule, no less important than a passport. Ready to move on to the third rule? Because there are people who are still being stopped just because they haven't had time to apply for ESTA yet. Imagine, you excitedly pull your suitcase to the airport. Your passport is valid. You don't need a visa because you're visa exempt. But then the check-in agent smiles and says, "I'm sorry, you don't have an ESTA, so you can't fly." Yes, blocked right at the boarding gate just because I forgot one click. ESTA, short for Electronic System for Travel Authorization, is a system that allows citizens of 40 countries participating in the Visa Waiver Program to enter the United States without applying for a traditional visa. It sounds nice, but in reality, ESTA is also a special permit that you must apply for online and be approved before you fly. It's worth noting that ESTA is not issued at the airport, and you also can't try your luck by flying to the US and applying on the spot. No ESTA, no fly. What will happen? If you forget to apply for an ESTA or apply too late, you may not be allowed to board the plane. Purchased airline tickets can be forfeited or require very high rescheduling fees. All travel, business, and conference plans in the US are considered cancelled. To put it lightly, ESTA is like a secret electronic ticket to get through airport security. Without it, you'll just be standing on the sidelines, watching everyone line up to check in and waving goodbye. So, what should I do to avoid making this mistake? Try to apply for ESTA at least 72 hours before your flight, but it's best to apply as soon as you book your ticket. Visit the official US government website to apply. Do not use high-fee scam broker services. Once your STA is approved, save the PDF file and print it out, as airline staff may sometimes ask to see it. ESTA is valid for 2 years or until your passport expires, so you can use it multiple times if you return to the US during that period. See, the third rule seems small, but it's an invisible ticket that decides whether you get on the plane or not. At this point, you have a valid passport and a standard visa ESTA. But that's not enough. Because once you arrive in the US, you still have to prove your financial means and clear purpose. That's the next rule, supporting documents and proof of financial means. Imagine you've cleared the first 3 rounds. Passport is valid, visa, ESTA is valid, check-in is smooth. You excitedly pulled your suitcase to the US border crossing, and the CBP officer asked a simple question. Where will you be staying? How much money is there for the trip? Don't have a hotel booking and can't clearly prove your finances. And so, I'm sorry, we cannot allow you to enter. That's right. Everything can fall apart just because of a few small pieces of paper. In the US, it's not just visas or passports that are important. Sometimes, it's the supporting documents themselves that are the decisive knockout that determines whether you're allowed entry or not. Remember, in the US, US Customs and Border Protection has the right to ask you to provide proof that you have sufficient funds to cover your expenses. You have a clear plan, where, for how long, and what to do. You will leave the US on time, demonstrated by a return ticket or your next itinerary. In other words, They want to make sure you're coming to the US for the declared purpose, not to stay illegally. So, to avoid ending up having to turn around and go home with your suitcase, you should prepare bank statements, preferably recent ones from the last 3 months, hotel bookings or invitation letters from relatives, companies or schools, round-trip air ticket or proof that you will leave the US on time, clear travel itinerary, print it out on paper, don't just save it on your phone. Here's a little tip that few people will tell you. You don't need to bring a whole mountain of paperwork, but print out the most important documents in hard copy. Don't rely entirely on your phone because sometimes the network is unstable or the battery runs out just when you need it most. By now, you've probably realized, coming to America isn't just about seeing the sights. It's a process of proving that you have a clear plan and are capable of supporting yourself. And that's just the step on paper. Moving on to the next rule, we'll discuss the more stressful part, the direct interview and inspection at the US border. Trust me, this part might make more people sweat than applying for a visa. Do you think all you need is your visa, plane ticket, and suitcase? Not yet, because as soon as you set foot on American soil, you have to pass the final hurdle, the border interview with CBP. And trust me, there are seemingly harmless questions, but answering them wrong means game over immediately. CBP, Customs and Border Protection, is the gatekeeper of the United States. They have the right to ask you about the purpose of your trip, your accommodation, and the length of your stay. Checking luggage, even laptops and phones. Ask repetitive questions to see if you are consistent. It sounds unpleasant, but that's what they do every day to protect security. Many tourists complain, "Oh my God, I'm just traveling. Why are they asking questions like they're investigating a crime?" And it's true. Sometimes that feeling is a bit overwhelming. But on the other hand, there are also supporting opinions. If we don't check carefully, how will we know who is coming to the US with bad intentions? So, this is a strict but necessary rule of the game. Of course, if you stammer, answer evasively, or your answers don't match your profile, CBP has the right to deny entry. In case of suspicion, you may even be detained for further detailed examination. And remember, even if your visa is perfectly valid, CBP still has the right to say no. So, to safely overcome this obstacle, you need to pay attention to answer briefly, honestly, confidently. Don't try to exaggerate or misrepresent because CBP is very good at detecting it. Prepare answers to basic questions. What are you coming to the US for? Where will you be? How long will you be staying? And if they check your phone, laptop, please be cooperative and remain calm. This rule is considered the final checkpoint, where many people sweat, but it's also the moment you prove your transparency and clarity. If you pass, you've almost successfully set foot in the United States. But there's one more hurdle, customs declaration. And trust me, just one mango in your suitcase can cost you dearly. That is the next rule we will explore together. Don't take your eyes off it. Believe it or not, just one mango hidden in your suitcase could cost you thousands of dollars in fines. And not a few people have found themselves in a comical situation just because they were craving to bring their hometown food to America. At the US border, besides visas and interviews, there's another step that many people underestimate but is extremely important. Customs declaration. It sounds simple, just fill out a small piece of paper or do it online. But in reality, this is a trap that many unsuspecting tourists fall into. For example, a tourist brought in a few pounds of dried meat, thinking it was harmless, and ended up being fined thousands of dollars and having it all confiscated. Someone accidentally brought a few packets of seeds as a gift. They were held for half a day for security inspection. And most notably, carrying over USD 10,000 in cash without declaring it also carries the risk of being confiscated entirely. Just a little joke. CBP doesn't care if you like sour or sweet mangoes. They only care if your mangoes are carrying any diseases into the United States. If you unfortunately violate this rule, you could face a very heavy fine, ranging from hundreds to thousands of USD. Confiscate all goods carried. You could even be banned from entering or have a note added to your record for future visits. Sounds a bit harsh, doesn't it? But that's why the US tightly controls its borders. They don't want diseases from food and animals to spread into the country. So, to avoid turning your trip into a nightmare at customs, carefully read the list of items prohibited from being brought into the US. Fresh food, seeds, animals, and certain medications. If carrying more than 10,000 USD in cash, it must be declared. If you're unsure whether what you're carrying is prohibited, declare it. Better to overstate than to omit. Maintain a cooperative attitude. Don't argue with customs officials. This rule may sound small, but it causes many people to stumble. Remember, a customs declaration can save an entire trip. And once you've cleared customs, when it seems like everything is going smoothly, there's still another huge barrier, the 2025 entry ban. And that's the next rule, where millions of people with valid visas are still unable to set foot in the US. In 2025, the United States implemented a shocking executive order, often referred to as Travel Ban 2025. This decree aims to protect national security, but it also causes hardship for millions of people. Imagine, you're holding a brand new US visa, a first-class plane ticket, and your suitcase is ready. But on the day of the flight, you realize it's all meaningless, because the name of your country of birth just appeared in the latest entry ban decree. Even a valid visa won't save you. According to this decree, 12 countries are completely banned, including Afghanistan, Iran, Yemen, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Haiti, Myanmar, Chad, Eritrea, Equatorial Guinea, and the Republic of Congo. This means citizens of these countries are almost completely barred from entering the US under any circumstances. Additionally, there are 7 countries with partial restrictions: Cuba, Venezuela, Turkmenistan, Togo, Sierra Leone, Burundi, and Laos. With this group, you can still apply for a visa, but the process is extremely strict, almost only granted in special cases such as diplomatic or humanitarian reasons. And of course, this decision immediately caused a lot of controversy. One side criticizes, this is a discriminatory act, blocking the dreams of millions of innocent people. But one side supports it. Without control, the US will face alarming security risks. So, every time the travel ban is mentioned, the American press gets as heated as a Hollywood political thriller. If you or your loved ones are from countries on this list, please pay attention. Please carefully check the official announcements from the US Department of State. Consult an immigration lawyer if there are still special reasons to request a waiver. Don't be complacent and think you're safe just because you have a visa, because the 2025 travel ban is stronger than a visa. So you see, sometimes the barrier isn't in personal documents, but in international politics. And after overcoming this political hurdle, you still have another challenge: health and vaccination. That will be rule number 8, where many people are subjective but can get stuck right when they arrive in the US. Many people are excitedly preparing everything: visas, passports, itineraries. But then, when they went to America, they were shocked. Wait, why does the university require vaccination records? Or, why does the company make me supplement my medical records? That's right. There are no longer mandatory COVID vaccines at the federal level, but that doesn't mean you can skip getting vaccinated. From 2023 onwards, the US has dropped the mandatory COVID-19 vaccination requirement for entry. Many people therefore thought, oh, so we don't need to worry about the vaccine anymore. But this is a fatal misunderstanding. The truth is that some states still have their own regulations for residency or employment. Additionally, Some universities and colleges often require international students to submit proof of vaccination for basic vaccines: measles, mumps, rubella, chickenpox, tetanus, and hepatitis B. Some companies or hospitals in the US also require employees to provide proof of vaccination, especially if you work in healthcare or public service. If you don't prepare your medical records carefully, the consequences can be very serious. International student, denied admission, unable to register for classes until additional documents are submitted. Workers, delayed contracts or even cancelled job opportunities. As for tourists, they may be restricted from participating in certain activities, accessing medical services, or be required to get booster shots immediately in the US, which comes at an extremely high cost. To avoid crying in orientation class because you lack vaccination records, you should bring your international vaccination booklet or a medical certificate translated into English. Get all the basic vaccinations before you go. Check the specific requirements of the school, state, or company before flying. This rule may seem small, but it directly affects whether you can study or work in the US. And once the health issue is taken care of, now comes another headache: luggage and electronics. Trust me, CBP can even ask to inspect your phone. That is the next principle. Let's continue. Imagine this. You've just landed in the US and are still yawning from jet lag. At the inspection counter, the CBP officer looked at you and then pointed to your laptop. Please open it. Your heart was pounding. In your head, there's a barrage of questions. Wait, what are they checking? Will the weird pictures I have on my desktop be seen? Is Inbox Messenger being monitored? Just a few seconds and I was sweating profusely, like I'd just run 5 coulettes. In the US, CBP has the right to inspect luggage and also electronic devices such as laptops, phones, and tablets. This isn't a rare occurrence. In fact, it happens every day. They may ask you to open your device, enter your password, and show them some basic data. It sounds a bit intrusive, but US law allows this to ensure national security. And don't forget, at the border, they have full discretion over whether you are allowed to enter. If you refuse to turn on the machine because you think it's a matter of privacy, unfortunately, they don't care, and you could be detained for further questioning or even denied entry. If the device contains sensitive data or information that contradicts the purpose of entry, it will be a big problem. Worse, they might hold the device for further inspection, and you'll have to wait in uncertainty. To put it humorously, it's okay to hide Korean romantic movies on your hard drive when going to America, but don't hide anything suspicious, because CBP doesn't like surprises. To avoid turning your checkpoint into a horror movie, you should delete unnecessary private data before flying. Back up important data to the cloud so that if they keep the machine, you won't lose everything. Avoid carrying work documents or confidential files that could be misinterpreted. Always maintain a cooperative and calm attitude. Don't appear overly worried or annoyed. And once you've gotten through all your luggage and equipment, don't breathe a sigh of relief just yet. Because there's one more challenge in the land of rules. Each US state has its own regulations. That's where different state laws come into play, where many people unintentionally break the law without even realizing it. This type of substance is legal in State A, but if you drive into State B, you could go to jail. It sounds like a movie, but in reality, people have lost their freedom just because they didn't know legal geography. You need to remember that the US is a federation. The federal government sets the general framework, but each state can set its own laws on many things. Cannabis, alcohol, vaping, driving age, child car seats, alcohol sales hours, open containers, etc. There are some, what you do in this city might be legal, but 200 kilometers south, it becomes illegal. And if you violate it, the lightest penalty is a fine, but the fine could be higher than you think. Worse, being arrested could lead to detention, loss of benefits, job, being recorded in police records, and impact on visa, job applications. So, before you go, be sure to thoroughly research the state laws of where you're going. Just a quick search or a visit to the state's official website. Don't forget to respect local rules. For example, some cities prohibit smoking in public areas. Some places ban vaping. Always carry proof of age license, as there are many unexpected ID checks. When in doubt, ask first. Hotel or hostel staff, or the state government website will give you a safe answer. The fact that laws vary by state is a cultural shock that many people don't anticipate. If you already know how to avoid legal pitfalls, the final step is travel insurance and mental preparedness, because surprises can still happen. Do you know thousands of people are denied entry each year and have to fly back the same day? Some people suddenly fall ill, are hospitalized in the US, and then get a complete shock when they see a medical bill that reaches tens of thousands of dollars. Sounds scary, right? But trust me, if you prepare properly, you'll feel much lighter. Going to America in 2025 requires not only valid documents, but also travel insurance and a ready spirit. The United States is known for having the most expensive healthcare in the world. Even a minor emergency can cost as much as a trip to Europe. Additionally, entering a country always carries inherent risks. Being asked difficult questions, being thoroughly checked, or, in the worst-case scenario, being denied entry. To put it lightly, going to America without mental preparation is like playing the final boss in a game without bringing your armor. That's a bit risky. My advice to you is to buy comprehensive travel insurance. Prioritize a package that includes international medical support, trip cancellation, and lost baggage. Prepare mentally. View the border interview as a small test. The calmer you are, the easier it will be to pass. Don't forget to have a plan B. Always have backup plans for finances, schedules, and communication. And importantly, stay optimistic. Consider each unexpected situation as part of the experience. Americans also understand that tourists can be anxious, so confidence and politeness will always help you make a good impression. This rule is not only a protective umbrella, but also a mindset that prepares you to embark on your American journey with confidence. So, we've covered all 11 rules, 11 keys that unlock the door to America in 2025. Coming to America isn't just a trip, it's a journey. And every journey needs a map, armor, and a steel spirit. So, we've gone through the 11 most important rules for entering the US in 2025. Each step is like a checkpoint door you need to pass. Thorough preparation is the only way to ensure your American dream doesn't turn into a nightmare at the airport. Now, I'd like to hear your opinion. Which of these 11 rules surprised you the most? And have you ever encountered a laughable situation when entering any country? Please leave a comment below. Who knows, your story might help others avoid making mistakes. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons so you don't miss out on future videos about travel, immigration, and the most practical international experiences. Your support is the motivation for me to create more quality content. All information in this video is compiled from multiple reliable sources and updated in 2025, but it is for reference only. US immigration laws and policies can change unexpectedly. Therefore, before your trip, always check official information from the US Embassy, Consulate, or the travel.state.gov website for the most accurate guidance for your specific situation. And finally, remember that thorough preparation not only helps you enter the country smoothly, but also makes the entire trip a complete experience. Good luck, and see you in the next videos.